Welcome to episode 1 with Andrew Gonzales. He was the head of marketing and the creative director for Everbowl, which is a multi-million-dollar company. Andrew Gonzales is absolutely amazing. He did 7 different healthy habits for 180 days, completely changed his life. So watch this video, find out what those 7 things are, as well as how he got billions of views, both on his personal brand combined with what he did for Everbowl. It's a great interview. Basically, this series is all about how our healthy founders using health, using fitness, using wellness in order to excel in business, in order to excel in entrepreneurship, and the fact that we don't need to pick one over the other. We can do business, we can hit our financial goals and be successful financially, as well as in our health, our fitness, and our wellness. So stay tuned for episode 1. And check out Andrew Gonzales. Andrew Gonzales, thank you so much for coming and doing this interview today. It's going to be a lot of fun, so I appreciate you being here.
Let's do this. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
What's your origin story as a digital creator, and what were the key moments that shaped your approach to scaling content creation?
My mom actually was a professional photographer when I was a kid growing up. She was the first in the family to do it. She just went to school for it and started loving it. And so I probably had a camera in my hands since I was like 12. I became her backpack mule. So I would bring up all the lenses with us.
Meal?
Yeah, like I was the cheap labor. She would pay me like $5 for a full day, and I'd come help her at like a banquet or like, I don't know, headshots. I'd set up the backdrops for us, and I would be her test model so she could get the lighting down, and like it was the whole thing. So I was around it from a very young age, but at that age I was also a teenage boy, so I didn't care about, I don't care about, banquets and maternity shoots and weddings. Like it didn't interest me. She's like, because eventually she got a second camera and she set up the settings and just was like, here, go run with this, go get some and then her clients started picking some of my photos, and she was like, you have an eye for this. She's like, you should do this, you could do this with me. I'm like, no, I'm okay, mom. And it wasn't until later, I think senior year in high school is where I took video production for the first time. I wasn't big on school, but I loved working with my hands and being creative. And like I was the first class that when the bell would ring, I'd be like, oh dang, like I'd be upset. Like I was like in the zone, And then a couple years after that, when I came out of high school, I mean, college wasn't really for me. My parents were mostly like, hey, go get a job, work there for 20 years and retire. And so like very old school. And I was just working all these different dead end jobs that I was just warehouses and UPS and anything you can think. And then I ended up in construction doing hard labor. And during that time, I got a little GoPro and I took it with me and my friends when we started getting into snowboarding. And once we started getting into snowboarding, I'm recording stuff and I'm like catching all these funny things of just us learning, right? And just us being friends. And I'd get back with all this content and I'm like, man, I want to make something. And so I hopped on iMovie and I'm like, I taught myself how to edit there, and I put together a video, and for whatever reason I put it on YouTube. Like I literally was like, I posted it, and then I put it on YouTube, and like, the next week I'm at work and I get a call from my boss and he's like, hey, I just saw the YouTube video that you just put out. And,
no way.
And in my head I'm like, oh crap, what part? Like, because we're being just, teenagers, right? Yeah. And I'm like, in my head I'm like, uh-oh, like I'm gonna get in trouble or something. And he goes, you think you can make like some videos like this for some of our houses, like our projects? And I was like, no way. Sure. Yeah. And so literally they tried me out on a couple projects, and I went with a GoPro, and literally I was going around filming these like $1 million homes and projects they had, and I put it together on iMovie, and then they contracted me for 13 more after that, and I realized, wow, I'm making more money doing this for you guys than what you're paying me, and I'm breaking my back over here, and I actually like this, Yeah. And so once that clicked, I was like all in. I'm like, let's do this. I went all in on my first company. I scaled that for about 1.5 years. Quickly in the beginning, I learned business, and the hard way. I was like, okay, 1 month I'd be really busy and I'd be working in the business so much. I want to be working on the business. And then the next month it was just like dry. I'm like, what happened? The pipeline's completely empty, and it was just such an up and down. And then I made it non-negotiable to DM 30 people a day, every single day, no matter what, that I wanted to work with or learn from.
30 DMs a day. 30 a day.
30 a day.
Man, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I did that for about 8 months, and that's what started getting my name out. And I started doing free videos in the beginning for everyone. I was like, any friend I had doing whatever, a trainer, cars, you name it, I was like, let me do a video of you just for free. And pretty soon I had this portfolio of all these people, and they're like, wow, look at all these videos, and I got better between each one,
So the 30 DMs a day, you were trying to you're trying to build a portfolio, so you're just trying to do free videos?
That one by then was already by the time I was getting paid. Okay. In the very beginning, the first thing I did was let me get a portfolio together. Yeah. And then after that, I had the ups and downs where I was finally getting clientele, and it was going like this. And then after that, I was like, okay, I need to DM 30 people a day every day. And so that started opening up different opportunities. I got an opportunity with a water bottle company. I got an opportunity with some really big YouTubers and a really big entertainer and influencer in LA, an actor actually, and he's still big to this day, but like.
Who is it?
Cody Christian, if you know him.
No.
He's from All American. He was actually one of the main people in I think it was what is it called, Teen Wolf.
Okay.
So he like had been in the acting industry, and then All American is where he kind of made his mark. But like his publicist called me out of the blue and was like, hey, this water bottle company connected me to this guy, and when we saw the commercial you made for them, he's like, do you know who Cody Christian is? I was like, I have no clue. He's like, just type his name in Instagram. And I look, and he has 4.4 million followers. And
No
I'm like,
way.
Yeah, I might have heard about him before. I don't know. And so it was very early on in my career too, and they did an exposure deal where they posted me all over his page and all that.
That's amazing.
Which was great. And then shortly after that, I got hired to fly out to Hawaii with Ty Lopez's team and do stuff out there, and it just started picking up. And then eventually, one day, one of the DMs back was from a guy named David Meltzer, and they were actually like, hey, we love your website, we love your work, we love all this, but listen, we're looking for somebody in-house. And I was like, oh, I still try to talk, and then I was like, I still try to contract them under my company. They're like, we love all your stuff, but we need somebody in-house. And I'm like, okay. They're like, if anything changes, like, let us know. And I was like, I'll meet with you. How about that? And they're like, okay. I go and meet with them, and like literally within 30 minutes of sitting with his head of media and COO, I see David, because there's glass doors all around, and I see David come out of like 3 meetings, a podcast interview, like while we're in this meeting, and I'm like, this guy is just moving at a different pace. And so in that moment, they offered me the job and everything, and I had a gig booked with Dan Fleischman, funny enough, to Thailand. And so it was all based on how this meeting went. It was like going to be my yes or no to go with Dan to Thailand. And it was just, I remember sitting in the office, and I'm like, asking myself the question, like, working with this guy, will it help me accelerate my path to my goals versus me trying to do this on my own? Because at that time I'm like, my business is my baby, it's finally getting a little bit of traction, and like, but then I had to like kind of really put my pride aside and say, okay, this guy is entrepreneurship 101.
Right.
Like
you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, I didn't treat it like a job. I knew, for me, it was a mentorship. I'm working for you, but like I get to learn, and then that's what it turned into. Like, me and David were on phone calls almost every single day. I spent time with him every single day. I asked him question, like literally I knew I had 5 minutes in between his IG live every morning, and then until the whole team bursted into the door, and it was just him and I had a list every single day with 3 questions, and I would always ask him, hey, can I ask you? Hey, can I ask you? Hey, can I ask you?
That probably moved the needle so fast for you, being able to like pick at his brain every single day and have just 5 minutes with him every single day. Literally. Right?
Like, it'd be like one coaching little thing, because he was a coach, so he was very good at doing it.
Yeah.
And he would just coach me, hey, focus on these 3 things, and I'm like, okay, all right. And in a media position, it's very unique. Like, you get to spend more time with this person than their executives and their family, like, because you're around them. Not only that, but when I'm not around him, I'm editing his content for another 8 to 10 hours a day, and it's just, I'm listening on double speed, so it's like you download all the information really fast. And that was the first time that for personal development came into my life, and I was like, I completely invested in myself, like every single day. I started reading books every day. I started waking up at 4 a.m. because he used to do 4 a.m. I'd say we work out, and like I was like, okay, this guy's 52 running circles around me. I'm like, so my ego kind of became, I'm like, no, there's no way. Like, and so I'm like doing the same, because I'd be sitting there like, I know David's up right now because he was just a robot, and I'm like, all right, I'm doing it every day. If he's doing it, like, I'm doing it. That's what kind of happened, and I started implementing everything he taught, and that changed.
So just those 2 practices right there, getting up at 4 a.m. and running, how do you feel those affected you as far as like growing a business and being an entrepreneur? Do you think that those things helped you, and if so, how?
100%. And because the way he'd say it is, be kind to your future self. He's like, invest in yourself. And that was the first time I really had it put to that. He's like, take stock in your values and who you want to be. And for me, instantly, I was like, oh, wow. Like, I started to learn, like, okay, if I want to be healthy, I got to have these habits. So if I want to build a business and do this, these are the things that I have to build and understand and know and learn. I need to learn leadership abilities. I need to know sales and marketing. I need to know how to control the finances and understand that. And I started seeing the gap from who I needed to be for what I wanted, and it made it so clear. And in the beginning, it was like, damn, do I even have what it takes?
Right.
But after that, it was like those moments. It was 2020 actually, where I went all in on personal development because everything was going crazy. The world was looking like it was ending, and I was like, I made a promise to myself. I was like, I'm going to come out of this better than I've ever been, like no matter what. And so literally, I went, I think, 180 days straight of like 7 or 8 non-negotiables, from like first reading, working out. I was doing cold showers every day. I was journaling every day. I was actually documenting myself on camera every single day. It was a non-negotiable because I sucked at it. So I have archives of like that whole year of me talking to the camera every day, like learning new things. And then I would fail, and then I would miss a day, and I would get back. And then eventually that's when the 180-day streaks would come in. Like I was just a machine that year. So I did over, I think, 100 hours meditation. I ran over 200 miles. I hated running before that. Like I had documents of every single day. Like everything was tracked.
So who were you before those 180 days, and then who were you after those 180 days?
Well, it depends how long before, because after I got out of high school, it was about a 6-year gap of those dead-end jobs, and I was very unhappy. And that's when I never went to college, but I partied like I did because all my buddies went to college. So I was just going around like living it up on my weekends just to make me feel better and escape, because I hated my day job, and I was just partying all the time. I was just wasting, drinking, drugs, you name it, like whatever it was, like, and it was empty. It was an empty feeling, and I would sit there and I would wake up, the next day hungover, and your life hasn't changed, and it's still the same, and you're still, depressed, and you just try to go back and escape. That was me prior to that. Like, and
you were in that cycle of just like,
years.
Was there any drive or motivation, or
I didn't care to be the best at anything, really.
It was just like a very like numb feeling over life.
Exactly. And it was just like, it was always you're living in the fantasy of, I want to do this and be this, and not taking any action towards it. So my actions weren't in alignment with who I wanted to be, because I always wanted to be successful from a very young age. I wanted to do all this, and knew I wanted to build businesses and whatever it be. I always had big ambitions, but it wasn't until I started connecting the alignment of action where I was like, okay, no, and that's where the identity came in, where I'm like, this is who I am now. Like I don't do that stuff. And I completely had to shift my entire being.
What made you? Did you pick those lists of things? You said 7 things.
Yeah.
You picked those 7 things.
Yeah, it was partially that. Like Dave, I think, had 3 or 4 of them, and then I added on a few others of like the documenting on camera every day was my own, just because that was something I wanted to get better at. So that was like my own, and the cold shower is my own, and little things in between, like the journaling. Like he has his own practice, but like for me, the journaling was my own thing too, because I read Atomic Habits early on, and I bought their like habit tracker and everything, and so that's when I was like, I still have it, and it's full. Like
I remember when it was like super popular.
Oh my gosh,
Atomic Habits.
Like, and it was.
I never read it, but I heard a lot about it.
That was the driver, because one thing I had to do is that process was also a process of unlearning a lot of things, like unlearning identities and things that were told to me at like a really young age, where I'm like, oh, I have to unlearn a lot of this stuff. Like, my parents, like bless their hearts. I mean, they did everything they could, and they had a harder life than I did. Like I have it easy compared to them, but like at the same time, I would see the behaviors, the habits, the mindsets that put us in the places we were, because we grew up with almost nothing, and I saw them go through 2 bankruptcies and struggle and split up and all, and I would start to see and understand, like, oh no, like this is because of our habits. This is because of how our behavior, our mindsets that we've put against. So I had to learn or unlearn a lot of that stuff, even about finances and everything else. And luckily, I had a lot of people around me who I started to just study. Even when I was 18, one of my first jobs was at an exotic car dealership. And so every time I was around people who would buy cars, like I learned really quickly that it's not lawyers and doctors, because that's what I thought. It was all these people that own businesses. They were all business owners. And the one that blew my mind was this guy came in with his wife one weekend, and because they were bored, and bought a $400,000 Ferrari in cash and left with it. And I'm like talking to the guy, I'm like, if you don't mind me asking, like, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I own a warehouse that manufactures nail polish remover. And in my head, I'm like, there's a million ways to make $1 million.
Yes.
Like anyone can make money in any way. I'm like, it just blew my mind. And so that like started to open up my exposure to that. Because growing up, I was never around any people who built businesses or had any kind of success, or even like that invested in themselves like that, or cared about personal development and their own health. Like, it was just coming from a lot of brokenness, and kind of realizing, oh, I know exactly what I don't don't want to
Right.
be.
Yes.
Which was a lot of the driving factor in the beginning of like, all right, I got to change. I got to be the one. And Ed puts it as, in every family, they were once poor, and then the one showed up. He's like the one that changed
change
the
the family
generation.
tree.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so when he would pour that into me, I'm the
You're like,
one.
I'm going to be the one.
Yeah, I was like, I have to be. Otherwise, there's who else is there?
Gonna do it?
Yeah, I'm not putting on my little sister, you know. So I'm like, from a young age, I was like, okay, I have to be. And so that kind of, flourished as especially with Ed, as he kind of helped me with that.
So going back to the original question, because I don't want to miss the second half of it, so we know who you were before the 180 days with implementing those 7 habits, and then who are you after approximately? Like how do you remember yourself after those 180 days? Like what are the biggest takeaways and biggest shifts and growth that you had coming out of that time implementing those healthy habits?
The biggest thing was confidence and belief, because the best way to build your confidence is to keep the promises you make to yourself.
100%.
Like you start to
100%.
trust yourself, because if not, every single thing you do that's against what you say, it's a notch in your confidence, and it hurts you. That, and then it built my belief, because if you would have told me before that, oh, you can go 180 days straight, I hated running. But it taught me how to endure through pain, through the things that I don't want to do. Through
mind over body.
Every single morning, the cold showers, everything. And so everything I was doing was kind of building up the endurance to be able to handle a lot of these high pressure situations or business or anything else. I didn't really know that. I didn't know why, but I was just following everything I was being taught. For sure that, and then the belief in myself, because I really didn't have much belief in myself. I was very timid, shy, and I was very introverted.
I can't believe that.
Right? It's just I could make my computer my best friend. You leave me for 3 days with a computer, I'm good. I don't need to talk to people and anything. And so I was very introverted. I didn't like being around people and everything, but that just completely opened up, especially when I started doing talking to the camera and everything. And I would learn as I was talking to it, because I'm like, man, I'm getting good. That was actually pretty good. That was great. And then, and so
recognizing your own greatness as you're filming and as you're recording yourself, you can look at yourself from another perspective and say, actually, I am really good. Like self-admiration almost, right? Seeing yourself through another lens.
Exactly. Because in the beginning, I was like, who am I to be speaking these things? And then I was like, well, it's not really who am I, it's who am I learning it from? Because David at the time, he had this crazy story where, he was a former CEO of Samsung, a top business coach in the world. He was in his early 30s, lost over $100 million and made it back in less time. And I have this guy pouring into me every day. It's kind of like the things you teach, you preach, you start to actually live. And so I'm like, well, I have to live up to the standard of the things I'm preaching and teaching. And I'm like, okay, and it put this accountability on me to live in that standard, no matter if nobody saw that. I didn't really share anything in the beginning of that. And then I started sharing the 4 a.m.s every single day, every single day, and then people started DMing me hey man, I see this and blah blah blah, and keep going and everything. And I started changing my environments a lot. I pulled away from a lot of that party crowd, and some of them took it personally, some of them just still support me to this day. And but I had to completely change my environment, change my habits, change my identity into something of someone who I wanted to be.
Do you think that you could be who you are today and have the level of success that you have if you would have continued even just drinking?
Man.
Just drinking 5-6 nights a week?
I would probably be, if you look back at pictures, you would probably be like, that's not you. At one point I had an earring and blonde hair. Really
Totally opposite of what you look like today.
Oh my gosh, I probably would be, and you can see it. I used to have a lot more weight in my face, because it would just, I would hold on to it. And so there's no chance.
No chance. So I know that you have been the creative director and head of marketing for Everbowl for a few years. What made you want to work for Everbowl? Being an acai company, for those of you who don't know. What made you want to work for that company? And was there anything that attracted you to it, not only opportunity-wise, being that you're representing a healthy company?
The big thing, it's funny actually, I met Jeff, the founder of Everbowl, through David. Their moms were best friends growing up. They were writing a book together at one time, so when I was with David working with him, Jeff would actually come in with his little table and set up a little acai stop, and he would come and do a quick training for us and stuff. So I got to meet him twice there. And at the time I had just got out of insurance with Ed, and I was doing this soul searching of what am I good at? What is the thing what's my genius zone, And I started looking at, okay, what's the things in my life that gain the most amount of momentum but have the least amount of resistance? I'm like, those are the areas where if I go all in 100%, let's see what can happen there. And for me, that was like media, branding, marketing, creative. Like it just landed. I was like, okay, it was just clear as day. Yeah.
Zone of genius for you.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, what if I lean in 100% into this? And then from there, not even like 2 weeks later, I see Jeff post something on his story of like, hey, looking for a videographer, editor. And at the time I was like, I don't want to be an editor again and this and that. So I'm like, I remember actually showing my mom at the time, like, should I reply to this? And she's like, yeah, why not? And I'm like, I just don't want to really do video editor. I want to do more than that. And so I responded, and he's like, oh, I do remember you. Can you be at my office at 9 a.m. on Monday? And I'm like, I guess so, yeah. And so I end up going down there and I sit with him and he's like, hey, I'm looking at launching my personal brand. You know, I haven't started this and I need a quarterback for all of it. And that was a cue in my head. I'm like, that's something I could do because I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and like so, like I told him straight, I'm not corporate. I don't work like employee. Like I'm an entrepreneur. Like that's how I operate. And I didn't know, but that's what he liked. That's what he wanted. He wanted somebody. I'm like, because he's asking, oh, are you good with teams? I'm like, yeah, I can work with teams, but dude, if you just let me run, that's best. Like just let me run and do my thing. And so we clicked, we connected, and it was like, okay, I could do this. And Everbowl side actually came in afterwards. So I was doing his content. And I mean, it slowly kind of like the ball kept rolling to me. It was like, oh, Everbowl needed this. Oh, Everbowl needed this. Because he was like, yeah, you can help with Everbowl's needs and stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, and it was just all his brand, launching the podcast, that stuff. And then slowly but surely, everything started doing it. And then pretty soon, I ended up being a creative director for Evolve Studios, for his brand, and I'm running all three now. It's been an interesting ride for sure.
So you have gotten Everbowl, if I'm not mistaken, billions. That's with a B. You've gotten billions of views for Everbowl. Is that right?
Not Everbowl. In my career, I've generated over a billion views.
So in your career, you've generated billions of views. What would you say has been the ticket for you to be able to get there? Because not everyone starts with, we all start small. We all start with just getting 100 views, 500 views, 1,000 views. So how have you been able to generate those kinds of views, and what would be the advice that you would give someone that is trying to get those kinds of views?
It's a touchy road because whenever I tell people, like, you don't want to try to go viral. You go viral by being authentic and sharing it. That's why, like, for everyone watching and probably yourself, you can relate. Like, your most overperforming video, that one that went viral, you probably did not think it was going to go viral.
No,
it never does. You never think so. And then you post and you're like, how did this thing do 2 million views? Like, what? So you never really know. You probably were putting that out because you're okay, like, let's see what it does, and you wouldn't have known that would have hit until you put it out there. So the main thing is get it out there, get the content out there, because the way I like to operate with content is let the data tell you what to do more of, let the people tell you to do more of. Like, even when you see new founder startups, like, they go and they do these massive, like, research campaigns, and they go into they want to get all the data of, like, what do people want, all the feedback, and then they start to put together an actual product that fits for that market. And so for me, I look at that content the same way. How do I make this product market fit with the type of content they need, what they see, what's resonating most? And from there, it's just how do you scale that content? For in-house teams that have a lot, you can be a lot more creative and a lot more customized with it, and really have a lot more bandwidth, right, to create. But today, for people who are doing their own content, like, you have to find scalable systems that allow you to actually bring up content. Because if it's really hard to do, you're most likely not going to do it. So that, for me, it's like, I wouldn't chase the billions of views, but let the data tell you what to do more of.
Leading it into an interesting area now. So with AI, where we're at today, you're talking about how to create more than 30 pieces of content a day, because it's also about output, right? It's also about how much content can you get out on a daily basis, because the more content you put out, the higher chance that you have of reaching your ideal client, building an audience, getting views, casting a bigger net. So what would you say today is your method in using AI while staying loyal to your own values and ethics and your own brand and your own brand voice, while being able to scale and get 30 plus pieces of content out on a daily basis?
So it's funny because it's a new world, right? Because when I started with David, it's like, if you posted once a day, you were like the rock star. Like, you were it, Even if you posted 3 times a week, they were like, wow, she crushes it. And now it's like, oh, you don't post 3 times a day? Like, and it's like, wait, how do you keep up with this? Like, the demand of content went so high, because even right now, there's a huge influx right now. There's way more consumers than creators, right? Even, I mean, YouTube blew my mind the other day. They're doing shorts alone are doing over 6 trillion views a month, you know, and it's crazy the mass amount of consumption that's going on. But the fact that even though we feel like it's saturated, like because we're all around other creators, it's not. Like there's so much room for there. Now it's a much more competitive game, because you're running against the Alex Hermosis who are putting out 300 pieces of content a week, the Mr. Beast that are doing, you know, they have 400 million subscribers and like, you know, and has a 200 person team, you know, like that's what we're kind of competing against, because it's whoever gets the most eyeballs is where attention is becoming currency. I started to look at the big gap in the market of like 77% of creators are still doing their own content. So it's like, okay, how are they keeping up with this? Because then they get into that trap where you're working on your content more than your business, and your content's not working, and it's a dangerous place to be.
Very dangerous, yeah.
And so once I saw that, I'm like, oh, like these people just need systems. They need AI to come in, and they need templates, like templatized stuff, and really just getting their workflow down. Like that was the main thing of like trying to find scalable workflows. And that was what I was good at in the beginning. I was really good at distribution. I was really good at putting these systems together, even with Meltzer and everyone else. So I learned that earlier on, but now in a way I'm like, okay, how can we do it so that everyone is able to do this in a way that's still genuine, which AI right now, like for the Academy, right, that I have, we have a Swiss creator bot that can learn your voice, that can learn your actual, it does a brand audit on you. Like the more information you give it, the better it'll get at it. And the continuous growth of like it learns and continues to adjust based on the things you feed it and the data and the background. So for brand authenticity, it's like your input determines your output from there. The better the input, the better the output. And that's what allows me to actually scale at least a lot of written stuff, because it's very scalable. So it helps me to do a lot of written, and then pre-production. Scripting out videos, scripting ideas, analyzing the different competitors and what videos are going right for them, like using the data that we can get from that to then help us to have more strategy instead of throwing stuff at the wall, which sometimes that stuff you have one that just goes. But when you come with a strategy, right, because I'd rather, the reason I say don't chase the billions of views either is like the one that went crazy viral, it's like I could get 4 million views on a video, but if it's funny or this dancing has nothing to do with my business, it's not going to move the needle.
Right.
I'd rather have 100 of the right views versus 100,000 of the wrong views, because it doesn't do anything for their business. And that's what a lot of creators will get stuck in. You want to scale your core messaging and not just posting just to post.
Yeah, I think a lot of people got really caught up in just chasing the views, chasing the likes.
Yep. That
dopamine.
Yeah.
It's the dopamine.
Yeah.
Of like, oh,
it's addicting.
how many views can I get on this video, or how many likes can I get on this video, versus actual just building a brand and getting people to really know you and like you and trust you and follow you. But yeah, that dopamine is like, it's serious.
It becomes an addiction for some people.
It really is. It's an addiction. Talk a lot about living with intentionality and the importance of your circle that you have around you. How do those values shape the work that you do day to day?
This is a good one that Dave taught me. He says, I mean, he was just like, it's a known thing, but he's like, you're the average sum of the 5 people you hang out with most. And for me, that was like a big eye opener when I was like, he taught me the concept of firing friends. And it wasn't like texting them like,
a lot of friends.
Yeah.
I've fired a lot of friends.
And I didn't like text people and like, hey, we're not friends anymore. It's just naturally, it's like, when your values are different and your visions are different, you do different stuff.
100%.
And it just naturally, you start to
no hate. It's all love.
No, yeah, exactly. It's just we have different visions and values for our lives, and it's fine.
Spend our time differently too.
Exactly.
Going,
different priorities, like, and it's okay. Like, it's to each their own, right? But in this sense, I was like, okay, this is not what I want to aspire to be. I explain it kind of like a bad haircut moment, where like you're no longer hanging with this group, but you're not really you're the person you need to be in this next group,
100%.
So you're like in this middle phase where you're kind of alone. That was 2020 for me when I was doing all that, right? So I didn't have a new group or anything. It was just me, and it was like, I remember one of my earlier friends, his name's Jacob, and like him and I used to party together, and then he saw me break off, and then he started breaking off and doing some stuff in real estate, and then we reconnected years later, and it felt like a breath of fresh air. We sat and we talked for like 6 hours. I was like, you get it, you get it. And that was the first friend where I was like, all right. And then from there, it's like it started to build up this whole new community and group of people, and now still, like, I love just hanging out with big groups of people in like different communities, and just people who are just want to be the best that they do, that are striving to go after everything and their dreams and goals, and like, you know, and actually aligning their action with what they say they want. You know, I started getting attracted to that, and then for me now, it's kind of like I look at it like a board of directors. I'm like, who's my board of directors? Like, for someone in business.
Who's a seat at the table?
Right. Who, in business, who's like that guy for me? And in spirituality, who's that guy for me? And I guess...
Or lady.
Or lady. I've had guy mentors mostly, so I don't know. But I've learned a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's just like I had this whole group of like board of directors where I was like, these are the people I go to when I need advice. And it was always like, Dave used to talk like, you take all advice like a handful of sand, and you hold on to the golden nuggets, you let everything else fall through. You know, and he's like, you got to go to people that sit in a space that you want to be in. If they don't, then you shouldn't be taking advice from them, right? How do you have a obese fitness coach or a broke financial manager? And like, he's like, make sure they're sitting in a spot you want to be in. You know,
100%.
And so that's really where I started to choose mentors wisely. And from there, I mean, I just lean on their experience, their wisdom. And there's a quote that's like, you learn from your own mistakes, but being wise is learning from others' mistakes. So for me, I was like, let me learn. Like, they already went. Dave used to call it dummy tax. He's like, I already paid all the dummy tax. Like, let me show you what not to do. And so I was like, I'm up for it, man. I don't want that.
I'm gonna take that one.
Yeah, and especially with David, he's like, yeah, I lost $100 million. I was like, I don't want to do that. So I'll take the dummy tax all day. You know.
So how long did you have to be kind of like alone? Like, that everyone goes through that transition of like, you're this person, you step away from everyone for a while to be able to grow, and then you can step into new circles of the people that you want to build with. And how long did that take for you? How long were you kind of like on your own journey before you started getting into new groups of who you had evolved to be?
I mean, there's been seasons of it, you know. That first season in 2020, that was like alone for like almost a year. And then it's like, all right, I got that one friend. And then it was like, all right, I met a couple new people through there. And then you would find, you know, because there's also groups of like, just because they're successful doesn't mean I want to live your lifestyle, you know. And so it was like, oh, okay.
Exactly. That's a big one.
You know, so
100%.
I quickly got to learn, especially through the exotic car and, you know, dealership, I got to learn, there's good and bad rich. Like, I wouldn't trade my life for yours.
For that rich.
Yeah. But this one is like, okay, there's guys who actually have their stuff together, great marriages, like great kids, their kids love them, you know,
they're take care of joy, they're enjoying their life.
They got peace, they got health, they got, you know, they take care of everything.
Fit, look good.
And I'm like, that's the kind of ready, you know, and it taught me from early age, like, to do that. And so then it'd be like, all right, I have all these new rich friends, but then it was a season of like, okay, they're not the exact group I need though. And then it would kind of be a little bit of season of, you know, finding new people. And then after a while though, you kind of like, there's certain connections that you make all through these different phases and seasons that like end up being like this entire family that you have. Like, there's people that I met from there that I still keep in contact with, that we have, we can catch up every few months and we'll talk for like an hour or two, like, oh, we're working on this and this and that. And, you know, and people from all over the country, like, that just that I can still connect with. And like, so you start to pick up some along the way. And then after that, I think it was like, once I came down here to San Diego, I really started planting myself. In the first year, I didn't really do much. I was just working on it, go to any events or anything. And the second year, I was like, okay, I gotta start doing more. I put because like I said, I'm an introvert. I'd rather just be in my room and do this. And then I was like, all right, I'll start going to all this. But, you know, I would meet different people, really cool people, and then it started opening new doors and different people, and just relationships. I was like just genuinely building relationships with people that, you know, wanted to support and encourage each other. And from there, it started to flourish. And now it's like, oh, so-and-so, you need to meet so-and-so, you need to meet, oh, you know how to connect it. And it's just like, it's this big spider web now of people that have grown. And now it's like, I have so many people that I could come to if I need something, or like for wisdom, or just like friends and people that just are out looking out for each other, you know. And that was the coolest thing, is where I really loved the community aspect of it, where people are just all encouraging each other to go after what they want. It wasn't this competition, it was collaboration, you know. And so that's when I started getting around, I think, the right group of people, where where I was like, this is my tribe. This is who I want to build with. And now it's like, let's extend the table.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, bring more,
Yeah.
And so that's been a lot of fun.
All right, last question for you. I know that you've unintentionally started kind of building in a community of running. So I know running is like a big practice for you. We all see you on Instagram. You're like, you're doing this and like running almost every single day. And now people are starting to ask you, like, are you putting together a run club?
Yeah.
So how has running helped you with running a business, whether that's like running off like excessive cortisol at the end of the day, or helping you prepare mentally? So how has running helped you, and do you have any plans of actually starting a run club in San Diego?
Yeah, so it's funny. It literally was accidentally, but when I started, 2020 was the year that I started running, and it was just the mile a day every day, and that
just
year,
one mile.
Yeah, and so it was, because at then it was like it'd take me like 10-11 minutes, and like I'd be huffing and puffing by the end of it.
And now, how many minutes are you doing per mile?
What did I send today? 7:30 pace, somewhere around there.
Awesome.
Last year I got the bug again for running. Did my first half marathon. I ended up getting hurt in Costa Rica on a moped, so I took some time off, and then recently I started getting back on that. I was like, all right, because you start to spend time away from it, and I'm like, oh, it seems like this big climb again. Like, how do I get back to 20 miles a week,
Yeah.
So I'm like, I just started the mile a day again, and I was like, okay, let me do something that I know for a fact I can do every single day. And so every single day, no matter what, it's like
a mile a day.
Yeah, and it's the minimum of a mile. Like on Wednesday I did like a 5-mile run with a friend. Yesterday I did like this high rock elevation training, and so it depends now, but like the minimum is like no matter what, the non-negotiable is a mile a day.
Awesome.
And that though helped me to, like, my whole thing is like just beating the ego, right? In the morning when it tells you, hey, you ran already, you got your stuff done, you're too tired, it's gonna hurt, and it starts telling you all these lies and everything. And Dave used to talk and train us on like how to overcome the ego. At that point, it was like, hey, if I get these 3 things done, which for me at the time it was meditating, reading, and working out. If I got those 3 done, I beat the ego for the day. I basically showed my mind that I'm in charge, not you.
Yeah.
And if I did that, I did hard things in the morning, everything else was easy.
Yep.
And so after that was about 2 years of doing that straight, and then I picked it up 2 years ago. So it's probably been 4 or 5 years that I started like really getting into running. But like for me, it's like it's the endurance that it does. Because I was looking up, it's funny enough, I was looking up the definition of endurance is patiently suffering. So like when you're in that run and you get the cramp and your mind's telling you slow down, it hurts, or you
stop,
like
just walk the rest of the way.
Or you're gassed out. It tells you all this different. Your brain starts telling you all these things, but then in those moments you get to have those mindset moments where you're like, we're not stopping. Like it doesn't matter what you say or what we do, like we're not stopping. And I think that's helped me a lot in business, in entrepreneurship, in my entire career, where it's like when the brain tells you to give up and it's too much work, it's too tired, it's like, nope,
keep going.
We just keep going. It's like feeling isn't a prerequisite for something to do, like for us to do something.
Yeah, for sure. So any plans for the run club?
Oh yeah. Funny enough.
Asking for myself is kidding.
Yeah, but funny enough. So it accident, like people started tagging us on social, and my friend Evo randomly was like, hey, calling you out, like just for fun, like we're doing it, we're out here. And then I had one of my friends, Mike, that reposted it, and he's on this journey of getting to like this running his first 10K and all this, and I'm like, I love this, like people are like tagging this, and I'm like, okay. And then my buddy Ollie is like, hey, you should start a run club. I'm like, let's do it. And I put them in a little group chat, and then I think it was Mike who named it I didn't even name it. He named it the Winning Pace, and I was like, well, that's cool.
That's actually really
right?
good.
And I was like, that's great. Like that's dope. And then we put people in there, and I'm like, okay, let me put it out. Let me see what people are down for. And I put the link to the chat. Hey, if any of you want to run, any entrepreneurs or blah blah blah, click it. And now today we have over 26 people in there, and we're having our first run tomorrow in La Jolla at 9 a.m.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. But I mean, it's fun, and it's just a bunch of entrepreneurs just all getting in there, and like
Very
same
cool.
thing, just encouraging each other. We're gonna go grab a little bite right after and be able to connect and stuff. So that was an accident. I mean, we'll see what happens and how it grows. And like, I mean, when I did Creators and Coffee, it was kind of like I invited a bunch of friends, and then everybody's like, oh, this is awesome. When's the next one? I was like, I guess we're doing a next one. And I feel like that's gonna be the same thing with this, and we'll see where it goes.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Andrew, for coming on today.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it very much.
Yes.
And if you're looking to follow Andrew Gonzales, he can find you at
Andrew Gonzales. Yes.
There you go.
On all platforms.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.